the stream title, talking about the decline in movie theaters. And I kept it vague on purpose because I'm coming at this from a couple different ways. And I'm throwing this out there because I want to know if I'm sort of alone in this or if there are, where people are ultimately landing. And I know the experience is somewhat different depending on where you go now. Because there's a lot of places that are trying to do like fancier food and they'll like bring it to you, or you have all of this different stuff that's going on. So I know the experience will be different, and that's kind of where the first part of this discussion comes from before we get into the creator, because I will pop this into that. So I was just making some notes, just kind of some of the stuff that bothers me about going to the movie theater now. And I put first, I don't like having my time wasted. And one of the things that happens now, and I'll say this, that going to see the creator in the theater, it was less of a problem this time than it has been in other situations. I'm really tired of how many trailers that they play in these things. I know there's probably a reason for it. That I imagine that there's money involved for them to play the trailers at the beginning of these movies. There's got to be money changing hands somewhere in there. And they also now just play ads in the middle of showing you trailers. I got
really?
I got like 2 or 3 trailers, an ad for the new iPhone, and 1 or 2 more trailers before the movie started. Now, it was only 15 minutes, which is actually quite short nowadays. I don't know if anybody has been to a theater recently where it's like you're in there for like half an hour before the movie starts. You're expecting...
It hasn't been that bad for me.
Maybe it just depends on like the type of theater. I've gone to Regals. So we don't have an AMC anymore, but we have Cinemark and we have Regal. The Regal will play 25 to 30 minutes of trailers, ads, and previews. Like you'll get your kind of like stupid stuff before your movie's actual start time. Then you'll get your trailers. Sometimes they'll throw ads in there along with that. And then you'll get another like 4 or 5 minutes of just garbage that we're trying to amp you up. It's like, dude, just start the movie, please. I don't want any of this. It was one thing before the internet was big and you would go in and it was like exciting because maybe there was a trailer that you hadn't seen yet or you didn't know about. Now, I'll admit, again, my experience this time felt very different and it's partially because I just haven't been paying attention as much to stuff that's upcoming. There are a couple things coming out that I was like, oh, these actually look pretty good. I was like, this is less of a problem than it normally is when I go to the theater. But I've seen enough movies this year where, they showed that Elemental trailer in every theater that I've been in before that movie came out. Every single time. And I was like, I have no interest in this.
They're
Why do you
trying
keep...
to hype that movie up?
Yeah. I'm looking forward
and
to
I do
this
agree with you, Zach, by the way, that I've heard a lot of people, mainly David, that have read the books of Wheel of Time, and that say that it has diverged from the books a ton, that it's not even adaptation as you put it. And then I've also heard people say that who have read the books, that if you haven't read the books, you probably enjoy this show a lot more. And it sounds like me and David equally dislike Wheel of Time.
Yeah.
But I think one of the issues is for me on the decline of movies and regarding the trailers is that most of the trailers I've seen before I go to the movie. So now it's kind of like, what's the point?
Exactly. Yeah.
I'd almost rather just get in there and go with the movie, but I didn't. It is, don't get me wrong, I do enjoy the trailers before the movies are used to, whereas now it's just, well, I've already seen this, so.
I put this in there too. Sometimes the ads in the theater are very preachy about critical race theory. There's this like whole movement now of trying to have directors of color or people in the industry of color, like blank of color.
Mm.
And that's like their whole thing. And I'm sitting there like,
People are more than just that.
Yes, and we've talked about this in the past, and it frustrates me to no end because it's like, just tell good stories. Do you have experiences that you think could be transformed into a good movie? Write it. Have someone edit your work. Don't think you're an auteur and start putting out movies. It's like, and again,
so many people think they're Zack Snyder.
Yeah, well, Zack Snyder thinks that he's like. Yeah. Hey, listen.
That was just for you.
Yeah. When his, listen. When Rebel Moon comes out in December, we'll give it a fair shake. I'm always willing. Like, I want. Like, that's the thing is that I think that I've always thought that Zack Snyder has had interesting vision. I just think he's a terrible writer. I don't think he should be writing his own movies. I think it's a problem in Hollywood right now where all of these directors who they have vision, like they probably are good directors. Like, I don't think it would be controversial for me to say that Snyder's a good director. He's got issues, and his vision has problems too, like his slow motion thing. We've talked about it, but I think he has like a certain visual style that he likes. He's got a vision that he likes, but he just can't craft a story like some other people can, and that's what Hollywood is desperate for. It's why when this whole writer strike was going on, I was like, who cares? I was like, there's nobody out there. Well, okay, there are very few people out there who are writing compelling stories.
Right.
That's it. No one.
Hopefully, with the new deal they just struck, from what it sounds like, there's going to be, not too many people are buying that many scripts now, so there's going to be less shows and movies, and hopefully more quality. Now, obviously, there's going to be stuff sprinkled in, but I was actually listening to a stream, and Screen Doctor, or Script Doctor, I forget, was talking about Script Doctor. He was talking about the deal, and it's going to lessen the amount of shows and movies that come out, and hopefully that eventually entails better writing, like quality writing.
Yeah.
So,
and I think I've got a point to make about it when we get to and I've said it before, but the creator was filmed on a camera that the body only costs about $4,000, which might sound like a lot of money, but for a cinema grade camera,
cheap.
It's dirt cheap. And Sony's like mainline one, so the one that is probably 4 or 5 steps like grades above that a lot of people are using. You're talking $25,000.
That's the one you use at work, right?
Yeah. It's pretty awesome. Dude, it is I could go on forever about this camera. I love it. I think it shines through in the movie as well, but we'll get into it. Let me see. What other points did I make? I had a few others that I wanted to get to. It's not everywhere. Ticket prices are getting too high.
Yep.
A lot of these movies suck, and the prices are getting way. When you're getting into that like $15 range for a non-matinee movie, I just get to the point where I'm like, maybe I don't really want to go see this. You know what I mean? It's like I'd like to.
Inflation's hitting everywhere,
and it's bad, dude.
I think that's part of it. I think inflation has a good bit in there too, to where it's part crowds are not. There's not as many people going to the movie theater, but then also it's inflation too. It's a more complex issue than simply just bad products being made, but it's bad products being made as well. And maybe that is actually the lead driver to it, is just bad writing over and over and over again. So people are like, you know what? Bump it. I can see this on streaming in 3 months.
Well,
why not?
It's like every time I go see something now, I get kind of excited. Like if I go to the theater to see something, I'm like, oh, sweet. But then in the back of my head, I'm kind of like, so we'll see. We'll see. There's a couple, because I'm still worried about that with a couple movies coming out where I'm like, these kind of look good, but I just don't know.
Yeah, I want to see, as Jake mentioned, I want to see Godzilla -1 in the movie theater. I also want to see the Napoleon movie in the movie theater. I think that would be fun.
Yeah, Napoleon looks good. Yeah.
What other movies are supposed to be coming out this year?
Uh,
Oh yeah, we got Aquaman. That's probably definitely going to be the best movie of the year.
oh, I forgot. Yeah, it looks terrible. It's basically Black Panther. It's literally
Dude,
the plot for Black Panther for the most part. Like it's a little weird. I was like, what is Killmonger doing in Aquaman?
That's funny. Oh man,
Um,
so we got because they pushed Dune out.
yeah.
to
Oh,
next
I
year,
forgot about.
and they pushed
Yeah, that sucks.
War of the Rohirrim from April, but I mean it was already coming out next year, but to late next year. What else is coming out this year?
There's one. Well, this one's coming out next year. I'm looking up the title of it because I saw a trailer yesterday. It's being directed by Matthew Vaughn, who did the Kingsman movies.
Silent Night.
Oh, no.
Because I know Arville.
Yeah.
Arville,
That's
the
not
one
his
with
director.
Henry Cavill.
Argyle.
Argyle,
Yeah.
yeah. Whatever.
The thing that worries me about it is there was a movie that came out with Channing Tatum, and man, what is her name? Her name's slipping my mind. I'm like, see her face. She was in Miss Congeniality. You know who I'm talking about?
Oh yeah, Sandra Bullock.
Sandra Bullock. It came out last year, year before, that had like not the same premise, but they're similar. And Matthew Vaughn makes like pretty violent, irreverent movies. Like that's his thing. And so I'm sort of like, okay, well, who is this movie for? Because it's got that sort of like chick flick vibe, but it's a director that I like and I would want to go see his movie. So I'm very confused, which is one, I think it comes out in February. February 2nd. So I'm just curious if this is going to be interesting because like the cast is sort of mixed for me. It's like you've got like Dua Lipa in it and Bryce Dallas Howard.
Oh yeah.
But it's also it's got Henry Cavill, Samuel L. Jackson, the girl who played Gazelle in Kingsman, I think, is in it as well. So he's bringing a lot of the cast back. And like I think John Cena's in it too, who despite real life circumstances, like he's all right in movies. I don't think he's really leading man material. I've never gotten that vibe from him. But he's all right. An ensemble cast, that whole deal.
Right.
So
I agree
we'll
with
see.
that. I think that's a good characterization of John Cena so far. Let me ask you
Five
this.
Nights at Freddy's. That's probably going to be terrible. Let's be honest. I don't think we've quite entered the age yet, or where we can say we've entered the age of good video game adaptations. Mario, Arcane. Maybe the Troll Room's got some other ones. Jake, the Spy Family movie is coming out this year too, but I feel like I can't put that. that feels like it belongs in a different category. You know what I mean? That's
also,
true. We do have to go see that though.
There is the Hunger Games, the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes coming out. How do you? Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah, no way.
I'm kind of right there with
no.
you. We have Wish coming out.
I wouldn't even
around.
Even if not Jenna Ortega. Oops, sorry, y'all.
Rachel Zegler.
Yeah, Rachel Zegler wasn't in it. If Jenna Ortega was in it, there'd be curiosity. But Rachel Zegler, it's like, even if she wasn't in it, I probably wouldn't be all that interested. But her being in it, especially, I'm like, I'm not even going to waste my time.
Yeah,
no,
I just
thank
don't
you.
really care about it, even if she wasn't.
Hunger Games is long past.
It's
Killers of the Flower Moon looks interesting. I can't figure that movie out yet because the first trailer I saw for it, you know what I'm talking, what that movie is? It's the one with Leonardo DiCaprio, and he's living on an Indian reservation.
Yes.
It looks interesting. I can't figure out the tone of that movie because the first trailer I saw had more of a dark comedy twist to it, and then I saw a trailer in the theater for The Creator, and it looked more of like a dark, just straight like this is a very serious movie. So the trailers are not, and you know how trailers are, but like they're giving me mixed messages about what this movie is. So curious for sure. It's not necessarily high on my list. I haven't. I don't know.
We have Wish coming out too around Thanksgiving, and that's when Napoleon 2 as well. I
isn't Wish
you know,
that Disney
Disney movie?
Oh, no thanks.
Yeah. I don't really.
Martin Scorsese is who I was thinking of. He's directing Killers of the Flower Moon.
Care that much to see it.
Did you ever see Scorsese's last film, the one that came
Irishman?
out on Netflix? Yeah.
Yeah, I did.
I thought it was
Too long.
pretty mid.
Yeah,
I didn't think it was that
too
great.
long. That's what I mean. Like, if you're gonna have a 3-hour runtime, you got to bring that stuff home. There's so many different parts in each act where it drags on too much. And I think you're right. Like, certain directors, they need somebody who can say no, but at the same time, that they're not going to get that when audiences turn out to them.
Yeah.
But Godzilla minus. Go ahead.
Apparently, Scorsese did 2 little projects between Irishman and Killers of the Flower Moon. Yeah, Godzilla +1 looks cool. I'm looking forward to that. Or is it minus? It's -1, isn't it? Not +1.
Yeah. Yeah,
sorry,
it's a -1. Looking forward to seeing it. We got a new Willy Wonka movie coming out towards the end of the year, but apparently this is more going to be like his origin story. So at least it's not repeating the same story
again. Origin story? Sorry,
Willy Wonka.
Oh, dude, no way. Pass. Dude, they should have just left it. Willy Wonka was done. I am hesitant to say perfectly. You are never going to top the Gene Wilder one. It's never going to happen. It just isn't going to happen.
This one isn't that. Like how Johnny Depp's was just a retelling of that story. This is an origin story of just...
Great.
So I'll say that.
Whoop-de friggin' do. Like, what? They keep going back to the well for this stuff. And it just gets worse and worse as time goes on for me. Or it's like, can we please stop doing it? We don't need an origin story for Willy Wonka. No one is asking for that. In the same way, no one is asking for a prequel to The Hunger Games 10 years after that series was popular.
Dude,
we don't need these things. Like it's so they're just. I hate that we live.
They should just release that movie out on TikTok and Twitter.
Willy Wonka cinematic universe. Oh man.
That's too good.
Okay, and then the last thing, and this will lead into the creator.
Wait! I wanted to ask you: did you see that trailer for the Book of Clarence? It was supposed to release this year, but it got pushed back.
The Book of yeah, I saw it. I don't know what's going on with that, man.
I think it's just supposed to be, to my understanding, it's a guy who sees Jesus and how much popularity
he's like envious
he gets,
of him,
and his followers get, and he gets envious of him and tries to recreate a lot of the miracles that Jesus does. Is kind of what I gathered from it. I could be wrong.
Isn't Jay-Z? Jay-Z's like really involved with that, right?
Yeah,
what's it called again?
It's called the Book of Clarence.
The Book of Clarence.
For a second, I thought it was going to be like the freaking Book of Thomas or Book of Peter or like one of the Gnostic Gospels. I was like,
oh, January. Gosh. Oh, dude, it's coming out in January. You know what they do? You know what January is typically considered, right?
Dead month.
Yeah, that's where you send all of your movies to die.
Yeah.
So, let me see.
Kind of like probably why Wheel of Time got released.
So Jay-Z is somehow attached to this.
They did September, but how The Witcher got released during the summer, because typically that's something you would release during the fall when you'll have more views, but because Netflix didn't believe in it, they released it during the summer.
Yeah. All right. The last thing that I had on the list was theater etiquette is awful these days. Dude, I go in, right? I pick a seat in the middle. There's no one else on the row. Go sit down. I'm like, all right, this is pretty good. I like when especially if I'm going to watch something that I want to like write notes about, and I want to be like away from people. One, because if I have to pull my phone out and I'm taking notes, I don't want to disturb anybody that's like near me. But also, I just don't. When I go see movies, I don't typically like to be near other people in the theater, because it's just hard sometimes for me to stay focused. And it's the decline has gotten worse and worse. And dude, I got sat next to this lady, and Lord bless her, but she had either some sort of septum issue or but she was like shortness of breath through the whole movie. The whole movie, dude, I could just hear her going, and I was like, holy smokes. It was bad. And like,
that's not really on her though.
Yeah, but it is. I don't want to, dude. I don't want to do that. I can't take that going on in the theater. And it is, dude. She was like, she was really overweight.
I get it.
And that's where that comes from.
But at the same time, I think more of the theater etiquette that I'm like is people being on their phones or people talking.
Oh, well, I'm getting there with all that. That was all going on too. But I'm going to go see a movie with you next time, and I'm just going to breathe in your ear through the whole movie next time.
Was she right?
Dude, she was literally right. I mean, like, I'm not exaggerating that it was just like
you breathe in my ear
through the entire movie. It's just frustrating. And they were like they kept like talking and commenting the entire time, and I'm just like,
dude,
I'm at the point now
when I'm watching a movie and people start asking me questions, I'm like, watch the movie.
Yeah. And that's the problem, is that there's just like, there was so much going on in there, and I'm like, guys, this is not the place for that. And then it's just like small stuff where like they just like were constantly either like commenting or like grunting or making some sort of noise reacting to what was going on in the movie. And I'm just like, it's just it's very distracting for me. I like the autist in me like comes out, I think, when I'm in the theater or something, because it's one of those things that I all of a sudden
don't breathe around David.
Yeah. Please don't breathe in my ear. But I'm just like,
all of a sudden people start getting insecure around if they heavy breathe around you.
Yep. But it was just one of those things that stuff would happen, and I'm going, why was that your reaction? Like, I'm
gonna send your boss a message and say, hey, don't sit by David on the plane.
Just all sorts of stuff like that, dude. I mean, I've had experiences where like, people are just straight up having conversations that aren't even pertaining to the movie in the theater, and they're like throwing popcorn at each other, and you literally, I've had to, because I'm just like, I paid money to come and watch this. Like there just used to be a certain amount of etiquette, and not only like if you go into a theater. Right? Like this is typically the urinal rule in the men's restroom. It should be the same in the theater. If there are
always look down to the left.
Yes. If there are plenty of seats in the theater, put space between you and the person next to you if you don't know them. Just do it.
Right?
And that's the problem, is like, dude, I was the only person on this aisle, and they picked the two seats sitting right next to me. And I know some of this is a little bit
people
petty.
Just aren't that observant and social and aware of their surroundings, but there have been many times, or maybe not many times, but there have been some times where we've gone to the theater, and for those who don't know my wife, she's not the tallest person in the world, and there's literally, like what you're talking about, plenty of seats around us, even like right in the middle, right? Just go a row down, and to where just even a dude by himself or a dude with a woman will come and sit right in front of my wife, and I'll be like, listen, I literally stand up and say, let's switch.
Yeah.
Just so you can see.
Dude, I've had that.
It's just ridiculous, man.
Yeah. Sometimes I've had, it's not as bad for me, but there have definitely been a couple times where some like absurdly tall person, and I know that it's like, I'm being, I get it. This is not, I just think that like there are certain things in the
if there's nobody,
etiquette,
if there's no other,
it's just like,
yeah, like you're talking about etiquette here.
Yeah.
If there's other seats you can sit in that offer you the same view, that's one thing. I totally get wanting to sit in the middle. You got to do what you can. And again, it's okay. Not everyone's always observant of everyone and everything. It's just, I definitely get the petty annoyance is what you're referring to that it causes.
Bro, I just wanted to ask her if she needed a ventilator.
Well, nobody needs that. We know what happens when that happens.
She has a preference, David's just discriminating. Whatever, man. I don't care. Yeah, I'm telling you, man.
David is discriminating against people who get shortness of breath.
I don't like what it ultimately comes down to is like I hate the fact that you're trying to have like an experience at the theater, and it's like there are just so many factors to things that can ruin that. Whereas like if I'm at home, you know, whatever, like if I had to pay like $20 to see this, but I got to stay home, I might have chosen that. Just for the sake of being able to have like a experience where I can focus on it. And I don't know.
Get what you're saying.
You know what I mean? Like
how loud it is for me.
Yeah.
That's the thing I'm trying to think about. I'm like, it really just depends. I mean, and also the kind of movie. I'm imagining if I went and saw 300, because I remember it being a really loud movie. Of course, the theater I went and saw it in was packed, and I was literally on the first row right in front of the TV screen. That's rough. And my head was like straight up watching it. I actually remember it. It actually was a good experience. I had a fun time. But
I think that is something to consider when you go. Like I think you just have to be. When I talk about the etiquette, it's not like hard rules all the time. Because like, sure, if you're going to Avengers Endgame on the opening night and the theater's packed and you're like, I would like a very quiet experience where no one is clapping and yelling, you've gone to the wrong showing.
Oh,
and I think
I'm so glad you said that.
You know what I mean?
I was talking about to my wife the other day when we were watching Harry Potter. I was like, man, I remember going to see this in the movie theater, and all these stupid people started clapping every time someone came on screen. I was like, stop! It's just an actor coming on screen.
Yeah, there's definitely times where that is a problem. But
there's ways like now to avoid. The breathing wouldn't bother me if the theater. If it wasn't if it was a quiet movie, it would bother me. If it was a loud movie, it wouldn't bother me.
Which, you know, there is action in the creator, but it's not all, you know, there are very much quiet scenes of dialogue, and, you know, you're trying to like pay attention and you just hear you're just like, holy smokes.
Mouth breathers.
Okay.
Just goes around calling people, look at that mouth breather.
Let's get into this. Now, Joseph, I know you have not seen all of this movie.
David's going to start.
I'm very bitter.
I'm going to start a movie theater that give people that test people oxygen's level, and you have to be.
No, dude, but like seriously, like go get that looked at. That can't be good. Like if we were on here and like every time I was talking, all of a sudden you started breathing heavily into the mic, like I'd be worried about you.